Hey, what's good, people? It's your boy Zensphere back again, here with another RENOISE tutorial. It's been a minute. I've been busy with other things, but thought I would get into a little sound design tutorial today. I'm working on a progressive psytrance project right now, kind of a dark progressive, still sort of feeling out this genre, so learning the ropes a little bit. But I thought I'd take you along in my sound design process and maybe you learn something. Maybe you enjoy. I'll play for you what I got going so far here. Oh shit, system's hanging up. Sometimes OBS makes my shit crack. Okay. Excuse me. So that's about what we got so far. I'm thinking maybe of working on some ambience, and then maybe kind of a melodic element. We'll see how far we get here. So I think I'm going to try and develop an ambient texture here to add a little more depth to that intro section. And what do they say? It's not progressive if it doesn't have insect sounds. So maybe that's where we'll start. I'm going to go into my Foley folder here. Let's see, go to field. And I've got a bunch of field recordings that I've made here. And there should be some decent kind of night insects here. Here we go, night insects, late summer. Let's try this one out. Sounds promising. I'm gonna check out some of these other ones here. Yeah, I don't think I want the katydids too hard. This one's got a nice sort of vibe to it. So it's pretty quiet. Let's see if we can get a nice section without any pops here. Just going to trim this down and normalize it. Quit the autoplay. Open up the frequency analyzer here. And then we've got some background sound. I think I'm going to put an EQ on this, see if I can take out some of the hum. So I'm just going to drop an EQ 10 on here. And I'm guessing it's this kind of low frequency here. So I might actually just take care of that with a shelving unit. So I've got a doofer set up with a high pass and a low pass filter. These are just the Butterworth 8N, nice tight shelf. And then I've got the macros set up to the cutoff control. So there, if we dial this up, it takes out most of that hum. Yeah, perfect. That sounds much better. I'm going to open up the high frequencies. It's a little crackly. My field recording gear is pretty minimal these days, so we'll try to account for some of that mic noise. Sounds pretty good to me, at least for something to start with. Now the trick is going to be looping this sucker. Got a little bit of a crackle there. Let's just see how it sounds with the loop on. My guess is it's not going to sound good, but we'll give it a shot. It's not too bad. Let's try the auto crossfade and see how that sounds. Now you notice the auto crossfade often causes like phase cancellation, so you lose some volume. Yeah, not a good result. So I'm going to take that out, and we'll turn our snap to zero crossing here and zoom in on our endpoint and see if we can find a decent zero crossing. Looks promising here. Oops, lost it. And I'm just going to remove everything after that zero crossing, and then we'll do the same thing on the front end. Let me just see if I can take a look at this waveform here and see if we're ascending or descending. So we have this kind of descending component, and then we're ascending again. So if I can catch something about here on the cycle of the starting wave, then it should theoretically have a little less pop and click. So this is looking promising right here, but I don't think I have zero crossing in stereo. Oops, I kind of lost my spot here. I was looking over here. This looks maybe okay. Might have to do some work with the DC offset to get this cleaned up. Let's try right here. All right, let's try this and see if we got anything good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in just a very slight fade to bring this fully to zero, because you can see we're not crossing zero here, and we're not exactly crossing zero here. So I'm going to turn my snap off. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to do a fade in. And I'll probably do the same thing on the other side, just so that we're at a true zero crossing. Yeah, because you can see we're not quite there. We're close, but we're not quite there. So I'm going to fade this out. And we'll do that one more time, a couple more times, just to get to zero. Let's see how this sounds here. Nice. Nice and clean. The human auditory system buffer is really only about 7 seconds. So if you have anything longer than 7 seconds, especially if it's something like this that has, you know, kind of a static timbral content, it's very hard to, you won't necessarily recognize that it's a loop, at least unless you're listening for a long period of time. Got a couple pops and clicks in there. One there. One there. And I might try and do something about that. Let me see if I can isolate this. And you notice that when I do this autoplay, it bypasses the effects. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to isolate that knock. I'm not going to worry about it. That little pop. Yeah, I don't even see it. I'm not sure there's much I can do about it. All right, we're not going to worry about it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, this is sort of an ambience, so I'll probably filter this some more. I'm going to see if I want to take out a little more of that hum. So around 500, 580. I'm just going to put a little dip here. Sounds a little better. I'm going to open that up a little. Okay, that sounds pretty good to me. I want to see how this sounds pitched down a little bit. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's put an amplitude envelope on here. Go to our modulation tab. I think I'm just going to use an AHDSR. And we'll dial up the attack, bring up the sustain. I don't think I need to make this nice and slow. Let's give this 4 beats. And let's give this 8 beats on the outside. And we'll take this down like that. And let's do this one like this. Sounds pretty good. So I'm just going to bring this down because I like working with C4 when I can. And let's see. So I think we're, yeah, -5 where I want it to be. And I think I do want to filter this some more. I'm going to take out some of those high frequencies. So we've got peaks here and here. I'm going to try dipping right here and maybe right here. So we're looking at 5,600 and 9,300. We'll put one at 56. And actually, I'm going to dial this in with a little more precision here. We'll go to this, we'll do 5,600. And drop the gain. And we'll drop the Q. That's a little cleaner. And what I say, 93? Yeah, let's try 93. 9,300. Drop the gain, drop the Q. And since we've got these two peaks like pretty close to each other, try that. I'm also going to fuck with this high shelf a little bit. Too much. Yeah, I think I'm just going to roll it off. And I think I want to change from Butterworth to biquad. So it's a little more gentle slope. Bring up the resonance and bring the frequency down. I wonder about scooping out here around 875, so I'm going to try that. See if that sounds good. We'll bump this one to 875. Take it down. Take it down. Okay, that sounds pretty good to me. Nice. So maybe we'll even go with the lower octave. I'm going to slap some reverb on here. Try my side basic here. This is a ping pong delay from the multi-tap delay unit, as well as a side-chained reverb using signal follower and the MP reverb unit. This sidechain reverb is nice because it leaves the initial stage of the sound dry, and then brings up some reverb on the tail. Okay, that's sounding pretty good. It's a little quiet. So Try just boosting here. I'm going to drop a gainer in after the EQ. Mostly because I could do this in track effects, but since I've got this reverb and delay, I don't want to compress that too much, because compressed reverb tails usually sound kind of weird. Okay, let's see how this integrates in with the rest of the track here. So let me put this on a track. We'll side chain it. I think we're on track 5 here. I usually name stuff, keep track, but don't always. Don't always. Got a gainer here as well. Louder than it needs to be. I think I want to slow down this attack even more. Let's try changing the curve here. Back to here. Drop the volume. And let's see how it sounds in the beginning section. I'm just going to drop a note in here and tweak as needed. I think I want to start with this low note here. Okay. Let's try those. And I'm going to bring this up an octave. So I want to filter out some of the high frequencies from this sound. I want it to be a little more subtle. So again, I'm going to change my shelving unit back to biquad, take the resonance down, and take the filter frequency down. Bump the gain up a little bit. Okay, I'm liking that. I'm going to just propagate it out here. Oops. And of course, my computer can't handle it, but that's okay. So we'll have the ambience going for this initial section. And the structure here is not in any way, shape, or form complete. This is just kind of the initial process of composition. So just making some drops, making some sections, and I'll go back and do intros, outros, and more structural stuff later. Okay, so we got our ambience more or less dialed in. I'm sure there's some more that could be done with it, but for the purposes of this video, that's good enough. And then I was also thinking of doing maybe like some kind of abstract melodic, sort of pointillistic kind of generative sequence. So there's a couple ways we could do this. We could do some resonant noise, which is sometimes fun for kind of atonal melodic content. Or we could, let's go with a nice simple sine wave. So we'll go to perfect waves here, grab a sine wave. I'm just going to bring the tuning down in case I want to go more melodic with this. using the Adventure Kid waveforms to bring your frequencies to C, you need to take it down 2 semitones and 2 cents, or whatever these divisions are, 1/28 of a semitone. And think about this for a minute here. I think we're going to be using a higher octave, so I'm going to bring this up to 22, which would be up 2 octaves and down 2 semitones. We'll put a amplitude envelope on here. I want a little sustain. Okay, there's something. Now let's do something with the stepper. Let me think about what I want to do here. Let's make this unipolar, and we'll run this across 2 octaves, and we'll make our stepper, let's do 17 divisions across 2 octaves. That sounds nice and kind of atonal. So we're going to create a linear curve in the process here. And then we'll turn our step value below 0 to random. And that way every key press yields a new random value on the pitch stepper. I'm going to put some movement in the panning as well. So using a random LFO at minimum frequency, we'll hold a new pan value for each key press. And I think I want to do a little bit of vibrato. So what I'm going to do is bring in an LFO, bump the frequency, drop down the amplitude. Cool. But I don't want it to begin with a vibrato. I want that vibrato to be delayed and sort of fade in. So what I'm going to do is use a pitch fader and turn this to multiply. Let's see, I think I need to have it before the LFO. Is that right? Sometimes the order matters. Okay, so I know what we need to do. Set this to 0, and then this to... okay, I think this does need to be after. Is that right? Why is this not working? Does this need to be multiply? There we go. Okay, so when this is on multiply and this is on multiply, then we can modulate this amplitude by this amplitude. So we'll put this up to 1, this stays at 0, and then our duration is kind of the length of our fade. It's kind of hard to see. If I bring up the amplitude, you can see that we're fading into the full amplitude of the vibrato. But the problem is now that we're no longer changing our pitch. So I think I need to move this to the end of the chain. And we'll change this to plus. There we go. That's the behavior that we want. Although this is, of course, way too much vibrato. Kind of like that. All right, that sounds pretty good to me. I want to dial in this amplitude envelope a little bit. So you can see we're not quite at 0 there. Okay, cool. So now we've got all this modulation. I want to see just what happens if I duplicate my waveform, because we should get pitch classes now. I was incorrect. Pitch stepper effects. Right, okay. Sorry, I'm thinking and not speaking. So the pitch stepper grabs all the waveforms and forces them to one of these values, which is a different behavior than, say, a random LFO. So I'm going to delete that duplication because it's not doing what I would want it to do in this situation. I could duplicate this modulation set. In fact, let's do that just to see how it sounds. So right-click, duplicate set. Here, I'm going to duplicate this and set this to set 2. Now we should have 2 different pitches. I kind of like that. I feel like this is too much sustain. I'm going to shut the sustain off, actually. Okay, cool. Now we'll go into phrases, and I think I'm going to use... What to use, what to use. Let's use a probabilistic phrase, and we'll try this one and see how it sounds. It's a little fast, so I'm going to bring this down to 8 lines per beat. All right. This is probably not where I want it to be, but let's just see how it sounds. I'm going to turn the quantize onto beat. Okay. So the vibrato is a little too much, first of all. So bring this down on the LFO. Bring this down on the LFO. That's nice. We got a couple different frequencies going. And let's make this a little more interesting. I'm going to add a comb filter and some random variation. Bring this down. I want it to kind of create some delay effect. Turn this up. It's sounding better. I wanted to see how this would sound with a softer attack. Okay, that's sounding kind of cool to me. I'm going to throw a phaser on here. Phasers are dope. Bring the stages up, bring the feedback up. And then I think I want to throw a repeater on here. I've got this auto repeater doofer, which might be available on my Gumroad. I can't remember if I posted that one up there. I don't think I did. Maybe I will for this video. It's pretty sweet. There's there's a formula device using this y equals playing formula. So what that does is it syncs the LFO to the play, basically the play position. So then you have these kind of rhythmic repeater events taking place in synchrony with the playhead. dial in some of the behavior here and take this range down so that determines how wide this spread is. I want basically just 8ths, 16ths, and 32nds. So I'm going to use my divisor offset. That looks like the behavior I want. So I'm hitting 8ths, 13ths, 16ths, and 32nds, excuse me. Cool. That is pretty much what I want. I'm going to bring the gain up here. Turn the shelving unit on. Take out some of these low frequencies. Okay, so there's already a lot going on in this section in terms of new material, so I'm just going to duplicate this and we'll, what are we going to do? Let me try and remember what I have here. So there's a squelch here, and then there's, oh yes, this kind of like percussive sound. So let's just try adding it in. It's probably going to be too much, but it's never stopped me before. Can always take shit out later. What do they say? It's not production, it's reduction. Okay, enable recording. Let's see how it sounds at this octave. Cool. So now we have some kind of interesting sort of atonal, although it's 17 divisions to 2 octaves, melodic content that's got some movement and some generative behavior in the phrases section. I'll probably, work and polish and refine these much further before the track is released. But hopefully this was useful to you, maybe give you some insights, some ideas in terms of sound design and some ways to, kind of approach the creation of ambience using field recordings, and then some maybe non-traditional melodic approaches using that stepper device in the pitch modulation section. In any case, hope this was useful for you. Leave me comments if you like. Yeah, go out there and make lots of music. Stay awesome. Peace.